Good morning, lovely people. How are you all today? I hope you're well. I do hope you're well. Gosh, where is time going? We've just passed the halfway mark in September. And honestly, I feel like I'm still at the beginning of June somehow. This summer has flown. And I am feeling, I'm feeling dead on my feet, flat as a pancake. I'm feeling dodo. My goodness me. I think it's partly because I've still got this tail end of this cold. And I think I feel this way. That's a kind of a symptom of also the fact that I feel like this summer has flown, because I just feel it's been non-stop. And it kind of has, apart from my lovely, lovely data queue, which was, it was just what the doctor ordered. It was absolutely marvellous. But yeah, I think there's probably quite a lot of you who are feeling like me at this stage in the year too, when it's constant, isn't it, from spring right through till now. And I'm at that stage where I feel like, I could really, really do with a break from it all. And I'm not just talking about having a day off, because when I have a day off, what that means is the day before and the day after, I end up having to work twice as hard to make up for that time. I mean, proper, like a week off. But all of what I do doesn't do itself, so that's not going to happen. So just have to sort of suck it up and get on with it. Fortunately, of course, at this time of year, there isn't really much gardening needed. And in fact, today is my first proper I haven't, just trying to think about this. It's at least 10 days. It's kind of right back to the beginning of September since I did any gardening. Literally all I've been doing over the last couple of weeks or so is coming down, picking, occasionally watering. And then all of last week, sorry, excuse me, I'm still really mucousy. I do apologise, and it does mean that I've got that horrible need to swallow feeling all the time. Anyway, yeah, all of last week, because I had that cold, I thought, do you know what, the stuff I can do indoors at home, because my body did feel really floppy and achy, I thought that's fine, I'll get on with things at home, I won't be mixing with other people and passing on my horrid germs or whatever. So a couple of days after Q, I came back to the garden to water. I mean, imagine it, having to water in September, to water and harvest, and I was really shocked at the state of my garden. Yeah, in the space of that sort of 10 days or so, it has really, really started to die back. I mean, it's gone from green to yellow like that. So it's a bit of a reality check getting back to the garden, a bit of down to earth with a bump after all the beautiful lushness of Kew. Of course they're going to be lush. They have to be, don't they? They're on show. They have full-time gardeners all day, every day. They have watering, irrigation systems, etc., etc. So, yeah, when I popped back on the Sunday, a couple of days after Q, I sort of stood there and thought, oh gosh, it looks dreadful. But then I had a little walk around and I was looking and checking and thinking, actually, you know, there's still a ton of food here. The garden's worked really, really, really hard all year for me. So it's okay that it looks like this. Today, my priorities, I'm going to do a load of harvesting first of all. And then I'm just going to start, there are so many little jobs. I'm aware that once we go into October will be another really busy month because it'll be the very last of harvesting. But it's going to be all the bed preparation, getting all those beds ready to be fallow over the winter. So it's all going to be about gathering compost, leaves, cardboard, anything and everything I can, so that once those beds are empty, I can get them covered and they can have a beautiful long sleep until next spring. So, yes, I don't know how today's going to pan out, but I'm just going to get out there and get stuck in. I haven't really, for once, I know, shock horror, for once, I don't really have a list of what needs doing today. Like I said, I don't really know what I'm going to show you. I'm just going to get on and get doing, and I think it's going to be one of those days. This is important for me, actually. I think it's going to be one of those days. It's beautifully warm and sunny and quiet and still, to just take my time as I go about things and take a moment with each set of plants or each bed I'm in to, in a way, make my mental thanks for the year, my sort of harvest festival, if you like. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a day for me to go about the garden and say thank you to all of it for working so hard for me for all these months. Okay, let's get some baskets and trugs and bits and bobs and let's go picking. This is very, very nearly the last of my tomatoes. Ooh, and a spider's web, of course. But what's amazing, well, what was amazing, oh, I'll leave that one, it's squished, I'll come back for it. Yeah, what was amazing was to see the ones at Kew with all their foliage and not a hint of blight. My site got blight, I think it was about 4.5, 5 weeks ago now, and I just didn't want to risk it. I took all my foliage off, the remaining foliage, and since then I've had absolutely zero signs of blight. I had that one plant with a tiny speck of it, which I just immediately took out, and I think that did the trick. Oh, that one's so ripe, it's jumping off. So yeah, they look rather pathetic, rather straggly, rather naked and forlorn like this, but it's meant that all that green fruit that was on them, can you see me around that bit of foliage? Yeah, all of that remaining, all the fruit that was on these plants was all green. So at least I've prolonged the life of the plants enough to have the fruit ripen on the vine. Always tastes better when it ripens on the vine, doesn't it? It's not the best harvest this year of tomatoes in terms of weight, comparing it with other years. I don't quite know why. We were warm for long enough. The possibility though, when that blight first came, I also nipped out all the growing tops for all my tomatoes, because I wanted all the plants' energies and efforts to go into growing the fruit that was just forming on them. So it's quite possible that, you know, I would have got another couple of trusses for each plant if I'd left them to grow. But the toss-up then, of course, is you leave them to grow and they just get wiped out one night with blight. Anyway, not the best tomato harvest ever, but enough to keep me going. And that's what it's all about. That's, you know, I'm not trying to compete. Yeah, it's not a competition. It's about feeding myself. And as long as I can feed myself, I'm happy. There are a handful of green ones still, just a handful. So I'll let them do their own thing for as long as they will. the temperatures at night at the moment, they are dropping, but they're not dropping enough to bother the tomatoes at all. So we just leave them and let them carry on doing their thing. You can probably see how very, very nearly over the coco de Paimpol are. So today, this is my, I think it's about my, I can't remember if this is my 4th or 5th pick, but I think today this is probably going to be the last pick of the season. Oh, there's some that are still a bit green. Next to last pick, but I'm going to have a really, let's be thorough about this. Let's start at the beginning of the round. I'm going to have a really, really good thorough pick of these today. Good stuff. Oh, another little pick. Probably another couple of kilos there. I looked online the other day to find out a price for them to buy fresh. I found one UK supplier selling them fresh in their pods, so exactly like this, £7.50 per kilo. I reckon I'll have harvested about £60 worth, 60 quid by the end of the summer. There's still quite a few green ones on there. Going to leave them, see if they come to anything. If it looks in the next week or so like the green ones are starting to dry out, I'll harvest them. Otherwise, what I'm leaving now, I'm leaving for seed. Good job. Well, it's all looking and feeling very autumnal in the bean arches. The 2 rows I've got over there, they were all grown specifically for drying anyway, so it's fine that they've shed nearly all their foliage now and they're nearly bone dry, which prompts me to do another job another day. But yes, that's all for dried beans. These 2 rows, this is the Gigantes with all the foliage still, and the Coco Sophie. The Coco Sophie, so if any one of you who's going to think about growing it for next year, it's gone over much more quickly than I thought it would. So I doubt there'll be much picking here today. That's earmarked for seed saving. But yeah, there are quite a few that have dried unintentionally. Fine, seed saving. You can eat these from dried. It's just, apparently, I've never eaten them before, but apparently just like the Coco de Paimpol, the texture from rehydrated dried beans is just not anywhere near as good as if you harvest them and get them frozen demi-sec. We learn new lessons every year. We just don't ever stop. Ooh, these are actually really quite green still on here, some of them. So at this time of year, it starts to become a bit of a game of dare. Do I dare leave them another couple of days to see if they'll ripen a bit more, get a bit fatter? What happens if I can't get here in 2 days and they all go over? Well, if they go over, it'll just be seeds. So with the Gigantes, I've harvested loads already green, again to have demi-sec. But you see, loads of them drying on the plant. So what I've been tending to do now is from sort of waist down, I'm ignoring all of those. They're all drying. They will be a combination of for seed and for eating. And then I'm just looking, oh, that's a Sophie, it's found its way over here. I'm just looking for any of the last green ones, which I think, ooh yeah, I want you. They're hard to resist. Oh my goodness. Like with the Coco de Paimpol, I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure that today this is going to be my last pick of green gigantes for demi-sec. Apart from anything else, I'm desperately short now of freezer space. Oh, I think what I'll do, maybe one day next week, I might give you a little I'll give you a little look in my freezers. Yeah, I'll show you what I've got stored so far. Obviously there's a bit in the shed, there's all the freezer stuff. I'm not going to show you in the back of my wardrobe. I've got some bottles of tomatoes and dry beans. Yeah, I will do that because people keep asking me about how I store things. So, especially in a relatively small home, yeah, these are pretty much, oh, that one, pretty much done now. Thank you, bean poles, for staying standing all year. Thank you, Kevin, for the new bean poles. Oh, I'm being greedy. That's it. Stop now, Vivi. Stop. That's a tiny, tiny, tiny little harvest today. The very last of the gigantes for having demi-sec. But because they're so big in the pod, I will use these combined with, you know, tomatoes, carrots, onions, whatever. And it will be enough to make a meal that I can then divvy into 4 portions. So 4 meals there, another 4 there, another 4. I'll get 16 meals out of this lot. Fab. Oh, so I'm over in the final forest, and literally in the space of, just the very last few days, maybe in the last sort of 6-7 days, a ton of them are bolting or trying to. So I'm going to have them out. Now, I was thinking about having a load out when I saw that one that had bolted last week, whenever it was. I was thinking about having a load out before they have a chance to bolt. They'll be really skinny and little, but they'll still be usable. It would just mean I would have to use 3 or 4 instead of 1. And then, of course, I saw those magnificent specimens at Kew. So I thought, well, I'll definitely harvest a load, harvest like alternate ones, leave some more space for the others to hopefully fatten up, as we saw at Kew. I've come to them today, and actually just getting out the bolted ones is going to thin them. So they do go, once they start to bolt, they do go really quite woody, but there's still loads that's usable. So for example, oops, a bit wobbly, these lovely frondy bits, all of this, all of these, they will still be tender enough to use. There might even be a little bit in the stalk. Oh gosh, the sun's bright, isn't it? Let's come that way. There might even be a little bit in the stalk I can use. And then if you remember, at the end of last year, right at the back end of last year, I experimented with cooking with the roots, and they were gorgeous. So what I'll do, like I said, I'll get out all these bolted ones. Here's the first handful. Let me show you. So yeah, it's a shame they've bolted, but there's a ton of roots on there to use. There's a ton of this more sort of tender green stuff, and then ones like this one, can you see, there will be a little bit I can get out of the stem. So all is not lost. It's far from ideal, of course it is, but as far as I see it, hold on, is that big tug? As far as I'm concerned, there's no point in despairing over these things. Like I was saying with the tomatoes, the main thing is that I get some food out of it. If I've got a bit of food out of it, I'm happy. I would have liked a bit more food, but never mind. Never mind, what can you do? The other thing I'm wondering, apart from spacing, I'll probably give them a bit more space next year. I'm always so mean with space. And in the past with the fennel, it's not been an issue, giving them that sort of 15 centimetre gap between each one. But what I am wondering this year is if they've had too much shade from the flint corn. One of my reasons for putting them here is because, as I was saying earlier in the season, they don't get on very well with other plants. So you tend to want to plant them separately. I've got to go in here, just watch another one. Yeah, generally you want to give them, are you still there? Give them space from other plants. So that's why I shoved them in this corner. But look, it's 11 o'clock in the morning. They should be in full sun by now, and they're not. Yeah, definitely need to give them some more sunshine next year. Now, has that given them more space, enough space? Maybe. There's enough there for me to get on with in terms of processing. So I think for now, let me just show you what I pulled out. Oh la la. I think for now we'll call that a harvest. It's going to take me, it's going to take me plenty of time to get all the roots cleaned and cooked, and to cut out all the stuff that's still usable and viable. So I don't want to give myself too much work for the rest of this evening, so I will call it quits on the fennel for today. But I will probably now, over the next sort of couple of weeks or so, I will probably every few days have another thin out, and just keep getting them, prep them, freeze them, whatever, and hopefully get the rest before they bolt. Fingers crossed. Just while I've been over here in the fennel, I thought I'd give you a quick update on the flint corn, which, can you make that out, the little tassels down there? Do you remember back at the beginning of September I said I didn't have any cobs? Well, remarkably, we're going to come round into bright light in a second. That's not bad. Amazingly, literally in the last couple of weeks, here and here, it suddenly started developing all its cobs. Can you make those out in there? I don't know if you can make them out in this brightness, but yeah, there's quite a few cobs coming. But golly, it's so late. I mean, I don't know if they're going to have time to mature. I really don't know. Yeah, there's really quite a few of them are just coming. Ay, caramba. Well, it's another one of those. I'm just going to leave them and see what happens, and hopefully the nights don't get too chilly. I have harvested these, I think one year, I think I've done it sort of mid-October, and then I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, I did them, it was right at the beginning of November, because I was saving the stalks for our armistice celebration fire. It was last year, wasn't it? It was the anniversary. So let's see if they can fatten up, ripen, get pollinated. Basically, let's see if these can come to something. by the beginning of November. Come on, little guys and gals, I'm cheering for you. Gosh, this morning's gone by so quickly. Where does time go when we're in the gardens? I don't know. It's nice to just get lost in it all though, isn't it? So I've done all the pickings I wanted to do. I've done a little bit of weeding, not much. What's been good this morning is just wandering around the garden and seeing where little jobs need doing. For the most part, actually there's really nothing urgent at the moment. Yeah, there's a few weeds. They're mostly in the in my dirt paths, not my grass paths, my dirt paths. So they're not coming to seed. I'm not too worried about them. And like I say, over the course of October, as beds become empty and I start getting them covered, it's at that stage, I can have a good weed, chop my weeds up, they can go in the compost. Brilliant. As long as they're not bindweed, of course. There's the area behind my fence, that path between me and my neighbours, that needs a bit of attention. Behind the shed needs some attention. But these are all mostly jobs, even if they wait till November, December, that'll be fine. Like I say, nothing urgent. The main thing now is to keep on top of harvesting and get those beds ready for winter. Oh, so it's been a really lovely, relaxed morning. I'm actually going to stay now. I'm going to make another video this afternoon. I'm going to have a spot of lunch quickly, and then I've got a big job to do this afternoon in preparation for a job that's going to come out of the garden. But that can wait for the next video. So I hope you've enjoyed hanging around with me in the sun this morning. It's been so beautiful and so peaceful. I hope I haven't jinxed myself, but for once there don't seem to have been too many aeroplanes or power tools and all that kind of palaver that goes on so often when I'm down here. So yeah, just be chilled and let us all be so thankful for what our gardens have done for us over this whole summer and autumn. And of course we're at that stage of year, aren't we, where we need to hand over the baton to our friends in the southern hemisphere, who must be so excited at the moment as they're getting their seeds into some compost and planning how their garden is going to be this year. Wonderful. So for all of those of us up in the north, this sun's making me sleepy. Yeah, for all of us in the northern hemisphere, let's just enjoy these beautiful, relaxed mornings of picking in the garden. And for all of our friends in the southern part, enjoy your excitement. Cheerio for now, everyone. Please take care of yourselves, and I'll see you again really soon. Right on cue. Never mind.